A priest resigned after performing baptisms incorrectly for 20 years. A ghost in Somerset tells people who visit the spot to go F off. And workers were fired after thousands of Massachusetts drivers got their licenses without having to pass a road test. These are the weird stories for Wednesday on Weird AF News, the only daily weird news podcast hosted by a comedian inside a closet. A priest has resigned after finding out he's been performing baptisms incorrectly for 20 years. A priest who had performed baptisms has had to step down after learning that he had wrongly used a single two-letter word instead of the word I. He was supposed to use the word I. He used a different word instead. This invalidated these baptisms that he had done over the years. All of these people. They're not going to get into heaven, guys. You better send them an email. Let them know what happened. That way you can make amends. They're going to have to be rebaptized. Bring them back in, all of them. The priest's name is Reverend Andres Arango. Father Arango, the poor guy, he just wanted to serve God. He just wanted to serve the religious institution as best he could, instead sending all of these poor people to hell. He had no idea. He was trying to do the best he could. He didn't read the entire baptism instruction booklet clearly. And this is how it went down. When he was doing baptisms, he used this phrase. We baptize you in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. That's what he said while he was performing this ritual in his Catholic church. The problem was he said, we baptize you in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. He said, we. You're supposed to say, I baptize you in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. You're supposed to say I, not we. The Vatican instructs this very clearly. It should be I baptize you. Well, my question is, anybody standing next to him when this is going down? Didn't any of the altar boys like, hey, Father, I think it's supposed to be I, not we. Nobody spoke up. This guy's doing this for 20 years. Didn't he have to pass a test? Didn't he have to do a baptism in front of some people the first time? You know, when you first work a job, you're like, okay, I'm working at Cinnabon. How do I prepare the Cinnabon? What do I do with the icing? You know, and then there's like a manager there watching you the first time you serve one and giving you a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If you don't do it right, they, help you make the adjustments so that from thence forward, you're doing the job properly. Nobody was watching this guy the first time? Great. Now all these people are going to hell. It's not even their fault. It's poor people. They're probably wonderful people too. They had no idea. Just one little word. That's all it took. Oh, boy. It says here, as per the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith, quote, we baptize you in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit does not actually convey the sacrament of baptism. It's not official. It says here, rather, ministers must allow Jesus to speak through them and say, I baptize you in the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Spirit. I, as if Jesus was speaking through them, That makes total sense. Obviously, all of the ceremonies in which Arango conducted, saying we instead of I, are invalid. It wasn't just once or twice that Arango had used the wrong pronoun. Church leaders determined this guy had done it thousands of times over his 20-year career while serving in Phoenix, San Diego, and Brazil. Now that the baptisms have been deemed invalid, it could mean that other Catholic rites may not be valid either. Oh, my goodness. The problem is some church leaders are just not sure. The Diocese of Phoenix posted on their Facebook page, maybe, unfortunately, there's no single clear answer to this. But the diocese did say that any baptisms Arango performed after June 17th, 2021, quote, are presumed valid and do not need to be repeated. Okay, whew. So there's some recent ones that are valid. The diocese said on their webpage, they're working very hard with those who may have received the wrong wording during their baptism and that new ceremonies can be scheduled as needed. Okay, come in and get the new words. That way you can get into heaven. Come in and get those new words, man, because just, you want to make sure you get into heaven. You got to use the right words. I mean, although you may not be a good person, that really, come on now. That's not really important. It's important that we get those words right, really. And even if you do something wrong, if you just go back to the church and you go talk to that man in that little dark box, if you say some proper words then, all that crap that you did that was terrible, it's gone. You can still get into heaven. It's all about saying the right words, guys. Now, sadly, poor Father Arango has resigned from his position as pastor of the St. Gregory Catholic Church in Phoenix, Arizona. This isn't the first time the ceremony has been conducted wrongly, it says here. 2 priests, one in Oklahoma City and another in Detroit, were both baptizing using we instead of I. People who are baptized incorrectly have to go through the religious rites all over again. No! Oh, man. What other rites have to be repeated? Did Father Arango marry people incorrectly as well? Did he say, do I take this? I mean, do you? No, do we take her as the awfully, unlawfully? Oh, boy. What are the words? What are the words? This wedding, this marriage is now invalidated. We didn't get the words right. I mean, what other ceremonies and rites were done incorrectly? I'm wondering. Yay! The Somerset ghost that tells people to F off. This is a story about a ghost. I don't do a lot of paranormal stuff on Weird AF News, so, it's nice to sprinkle it in there once in a while. This is a story about a ghost. Ghost hunters were called in recently to a Somerset beauty spot. I guess that means it's just a lovely piece of landscape that tourists frequent. It's got probably a nice view. When you're driving down the highway and it's like, nice view, next exit. And you're like, oh, there's a nice view there. And you get off and then you try and get a photo of the nice view, but there's too many people there. And they get in your shot, because too many people are at that nice view. If you're going to say nice view, next exit, what do you expect? Everyone's going to pull over to take the shot. Where was I? Okay. This is a beautiful spot in Somerset in the UK. There's reports of an angry ghoul shouting and swearing at the tourists. This sounds amazing. You're going to have to change up that sign. An angry ghoul swearing at tourists, next exit. Oh, everybody would be there with their recorders. The potty mouth ghost is said to be a woman in white. It's always a woman in white, isn't it? Who apparently tells people visiting the Quantock Hills to F off. We're not going to say that word on Weird AF News because I'm trying to get into heaven. And certain words will put me in hell. So we're trying not to say the F-bomb. Okay, so a woman in white tells people visiting the place to F off. Isn't it kind of strange that the ghosts wear the clothes that they died in? It's a little weird, right? I mean, I thought spirits were eternal. Why would they just hang on to that clothing? I mean, upgrade your wardrobe, bro. Seriously. This rude apparition is said to haunt an area known as, this is cool. It's called Dead Woman's Ditch. Oh, that's awesome. Dead Woman's Ditch. Sounds like a great place for a picnic. If you want to have a picnic and eat some sandwiches while some invisible voice tells you to F off, this is the place for you. The site is on the Quantock Hills in Somerset. It was named after the murder of one Jane Walford by her husband John in 1789. How sad. And now people are saying that a foul-mouthed phantom is lurking in the area. There's many reports of a swearing apparition. How strange. Well, if it was her, she's murdered and she's not pleased. I'd be swearing my ass off too if I was a spirit. I'm stuck wearing those same clothes I was choked out in. Come on. There's a ghost hunting couple in this story named Christine and Dave Thomas. I'm always a little leery of these ghost hunting couples. But hey, whatever makes your life, exciting. Hunting ghosts, okay. Christine and Dave Thomas, they launched an investigation into this paranormal being recently. Christine claims she was shouted at as well, and she was told to F off by this nasty, evil spirit. Of course, she has to say that, whether she was told to F off or not. I mean, you got a business there. It's bad PR to say, we went to Dead Lady Ditch and nobody swore at us at all. We saw nothing at all. That's bad PR if you're a ghost hunting couple. You want to make sure that every time you go to a spot that someone said they heard a ghost saying F off, you also are told to F off, whether it happened or not. She says she and her husband Dave picked up on a voice before being rudely told to leave. All right. The pair claim to have had other encounters there with the ghost of a murderer from 1798 as well. Dave says, there is definitely something there. My wife has experienced it for a very long time. Now, there are 2 types of voices. There's the residual memories being replayed, which people pick up on without being able to communicate with. Then there are voices you can interact with, which you can have an exchange with, in fact, which can answer questions. Not all, but some can be quite nasty, nasty evil spirits, yes. Not everybody is aware of ghosts. Not everybody's aware. We are, because we're so special, aren't we, Christine? Oh, yes, we are. That's why we are professional ghost hunters. We have an Instagram page to prove it. Show them the video of the pencil moving on the table, darling. That's a good one. It says here, some people, as you know, have weaker barriers than others, and they're more likely to not come across ghosts, whatnot. When I was about 17 on my way home from work, driving along a road, I saw a bright white figure on the side of the road. I slowed down. It was a woman, completely dressed in white, old-fashioned clothing. I remember to this day I couldn't take my eyes off her as I drove past. I couldn't bring myself to turn around to have another look. I drove home in complete shock. I've been hunting ghosts ever since. I see them all the time. I've seen what looks like a tall figure with a long dark coat outside of a pub once. Now, granted, I had about 17 Guinness that night, but no matter. I saw a tall victim of I assume of a murder, just telling me to go screw, telling me I was drunk, telling me I was too drunk, put handcuffs on me, brought me to a prison of some sort. I woke up in the jail. I was like, where was that dark spirit I saw the night before? Someone said, well, that was Officer Schilling. I said, no, it couldn't have been. I saw a ghost. No. They said, that was a police officer. That's why you're in prison. I don't believe it, though. I've been seeing spirits. By the way, if any of you have bought a home recently and you suspect it might be inhabited by some phantom, a ghoul, perhaps a werewolf, you just call Christine and me. We'll be there. We'll be there. Forthwith. We're brilliant. Brilliant. And that wraps up Dave the Ghost Hunter's quote. Now, if any of you happen to be in the Somerset area, head on over to Dead Woman's Ditch and have yourself a little picnic. See if you can see this white lady in the dress telling you to go screw. I think it's a fabulous way to spend maybe it's a Tinder date of some sort. Who's not going to go with you to a Dead Woman's Ditch for a first date? That sounds like a lovely place. You like podcasts? You're listening to my podcast. Maybe you thought to yourself, I'd like to make a podcast. Too difficult. No, not with Anchor. Anchor has free creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast from your phone or your computer. Anchor distributes your podcast to Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. They have advertising integration, so you can even make a little money off your podcast. Everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And good luck with your podcast. Good luck with your creation. Good luck with your life, man. Some workers were fired after thousands of drivers got their licenses without road tests. The story's out of Massachusetts. 4 employees from the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles were fired this week after it was discovered that nearly 2,100 drivers were given licenses without taking road tests. Officials at the RMV confirmed the news on Wednesday, saying that the situation is currently under investigation. It's a big-time problem. Here's a quote from the Registry of Motor Vehicles spokesperson. Yeah, upon discovering suspicious activity regarding the issuance of road tests in 2020, the Registry of Motor Vehicles launched an investigation and referred the issue to law enforcement. The RMV has determined over 2,000 drivers were granted licenses without even taking the road test. All of the impacted individuals have been contacted, though. They're going to be required to take and pass a road test within 10 days. The registry is terminated for employees, by the way, involved in this matter, and will continue to work with law enforcement on the ongoing investigation, of course. I love how they just told these people, you have 10 days to pass the road test. By the way, you were given a license inappropriately, and you have 10 days. 10 days? Well, fortunately, they've been driving around for a while, so they probably got it down, right? They can parallel park by now. How frightening. How frightening that over 2,000 people that did not take a road test were just given a license, and they're out there for a year driving with what technically is an invalid license. I wonder if they noticed an uptick in accidents and just highway chicanery. Now, this thing goes back a while. The RMV determined that since April of 2018, a total of 2,100 drivers were given passing marks by 2 test instructors at the Brockton Customer Service Center for road tests that they never actually completed. Of course it's Brockton. Yeah. Of course it's Brockton. Anyone from Massachusetts would appreciate what I'm saying right now. It says here, both instructors who were not named and 2 service center employees were fired in connection to the scheme. All of the affected drivers must now retake the tests, of course, and those who fail will be given a learner's permit. Both the test and Massachusetts ID card will be free for nearly 2,100 motorists. Officials say the road tests will be free of charge for those affected, of course. Anyone who fails a test will be reissued a learner's permit and will be offered the Massachusetts ID card free of charge. Okay, that's just repeating, but you get the gist of it. And there's a lot of road rage, by the way, in Massachusetts. Oh, boy, a lot of road rage up there. I imagine there's a lot more road rage lately because over 2,000 people are not driving appropriately. And then you add a little liquor to the situation, of course. A lot of drunk driving going on in Boston, if you guys didn't know. A lot of drunk driving. I participated in such activities back then. Not proud of it, but, dude, I was 21 years old. What do you think? What's going on? Of course. Man, what a fiasco. What a fiasco. I told you the story, did I not? About how I brought someone to get their license, a very old man, get his license renewed. And he was practically blind. And they had to give him the vision test, and he couldn't get it right. But he was so annoying, and the employee of the Registry of Motor Vehicles was so clearly annoyed and wanted this guy out of the office ASAP that he just gave him a passing grade and sent us on our way. And this old man that I had driven there, because he can't drive. No, he only wanted his license for just to have, for ID purposes and just to have. He wasn't really driving. He couldn't drive. His senses had declined. And I witnessed him just be given a renewed driver's license right in front of my face, and he should not have been given that. Well, at the end of the day, we have these human beings, and they're faulty. They're faulty. Until we get AI doing such things, this is what's going to happen. You're going to have human error. Yeah. Let's just hope that for more serious, larger vehicles and heavy machinery, that they're more strict when it comes to handing out the licenses. I don't want to imagine that my commercial airline pilot that's piloting the plane that I'm sitting on never had to take a road or an air test of any sort, was just given the thumbs up and just sent on his or her way. Just don't want to imagine that. You've reached the outro. Yay, thanks for sticking around. I don't have too many announcements. Just want to thank you for being here and spending some time with me. And I hope that the show was up to snuff. Up to snuff? What does that even mean? I have no idea. I think it means up to your liking and satisfaction. In other words, did you give it 2 thumbs up? Do you have more than 2 thumbs? How many thumbs do you think aliens have? Anyways, I'm out of my mind, and I think it's because of the caffeine. I want to thank those of you who have sent me caffeine, bought me cups of coffee off my website, weirdafnews.com. That's pretty sweet. If you guys want to support the show, go to weirdafnews.com and click on Buy Jonesy a Coffee, or click on the Patreon link. The Patreon's very cool, right? You get extra content in the Patreon, including my Ask Jonesy Anything video, which I've gotten feedback from it because it's been up for a couple weeks, and I've been told it's pretty scandalous. So you might want to check that out. You can learn some personal things about Jonesy that you had no idea. Anyways, the Patreon can be joined by going to patreon.com/weirdafnews, or download the Patreon app and do a search for Weird AF News on your phone. Yeah, that's right. Do a search on your phone, bro. You can download Patreon app totally on your phone, man, and just do a search for Weird AF News. You know how to spell it? It's got an A and an F, but it's in the middle. All right. Anyways, you can support the show doing that, totally. It's like buying Jonesy a half a beer a month. Why wouldn't you do it? You totally would do it. You should do it. You should do it. I love you guys. You want to call the show? It's so cool if you did. 646-450-2012. Got an email? Brah. Yeah, it's funnyjones@gmail.com. You can email me links to stories and stuff. You can just say, what's up? You know what I mean? Hey, what's cracking, Jonesy? Yeah. And then, follow me on the gram, bro. The gram is where it's at. At Funny Jones, yeah, follow me on the gram, say what's up, slide into my DMs, guys, totally. I welcome you sliding in my DMs, right? You still can slide into my DMs, you'll go to heaven, as long as you were baptized, bro.